Hello, I'm Mary Ayres, and this is the oral exam for EPSY 7110 Multicultural Gifted Education. For this exam, we were tasked with finding two goals from the course syllabus. My first goal is goal number 6, examine historical, legal, and policy challenges and triumphs faced by students from culturally diverse backgrounds. This goal was accomplished through many readings. One was the Historical and Legal Perspectives, Chapter 2, in Multicultural Gifted Education by Donna Ford, PhD. Through the readings of the U46 trial decision, through the readings of Diversity, Superdiversity, and Monolingual Language Ideology in the United States, Tolerance or Intolerance by Terrence G. Wiley, and through some additional research. As we know, the dominant culture in the United States is white Anglo-Saxon. However, our America began as a land of immigrants. But because of white dominance, the United States of America has a long history of historical, legal, and policy challenges and triumphs faced by students from culturally diverse backgrounds. Challenge begins with the Anglo-Saxons who came to America and pushed out the Native Americans and also brought in slaves. The South Carolina Act of 1714 would not allow slave owners to teach their slaves to write. Punishment was 100 pounds. Virginia had a similar revised code of 1819, and in this they were not allowed to teach slaves to read or write, and they would get no more than 30 lashes if they did. Of course, after slavery ended with the 14th Amendment, education became segregated for blacks and whites. Plessy versus Ferguson allowed black children to be segregated into overcrowded and unsafe school buildings that were often inaccessible for public transportation, forcing students to walk long distances year-round. Classrooms were poorly resourced without enough desks for every child, and the few books students had were tattered hand-me-downs from white schools. Black teachers were paid only a fraction of the salary of their white counterparts. That's from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. There in 1954, after that, in 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education, should be 54, we see that schools began to desegregate. Although this took many years, over 10 years in fact, and some would even argue that this desegregation is still going on. It is important to note, however, that not only were schools segregated on the East Coast, they were also segregated on the West Coast. Hispanics were segregated into different schools than whites. And at one point, Hispanics were even exported from the country. The Civil Rights Act of 1957 and 1964 were landmark decisions that helped immigrant students as well as bilingual students, as additional help and classes were offered for them. The Equal Educational Opportunity Act of 1974 granted women some rights. In this act, which sought to strengthen the Act of 1957 by adding enforcement provisions passed into law by President Johnson, who took office after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. However, in 1968, about 77% of black students and 55% of Latino students attended public schools that were more than half minority. In 2010, more than 40 years later, 47% of Black students and 80% of Latino students continue to attend public schools dominated by minority populations. The legal mandate of Brown versus Board of Education may be clear, but some factors such as income inequity and discriminatory housing patterns to continue disparities in the quality of education offered to children. And that also was from the National Museum. Other key cases was the U-46 case, where Hispanics could not be separated into different gifted education classes from white students. And also the struggles with monolingualism, where Hispanics and American Indians were asked to deny their cultures. And then we also had discrimination against Japanese Americans, not only during World War II, but when they first came into our country. They were discriminated against as well. So it's been an uphill battle for culturally diverse people in the United States. The other class goal that I chose was number 9, to evaluate personal beliefs and professional experiences related to multicultural gifted educational issues. This journey began with the My Peeps assignment. And this assignment was really excited to find out my genealogy. And I went all the way back to King Henry VIII. So talk about, white privilege. I'm from royalty. But from there, I discovered that my ancestors owned slaves. And I find this very disgraceful and shameful, and because there's really no reason for thinking it's okay to own another human being. So after, that insight, I also developed more empathy for other cultures. Clark's doll experience was fundamental in making me see how Black children felt about themselves. It was very heartbreaking. Also, microaggressions made me realize that how some people may react to these comments that I've heard and often have thought, but didn't realize how other people were affected by them. And then finally, Howard's White Man Dancing chapter and chapter 3 of that book helped me to realize that not to just stop with the guilt of what my past ancestors have done, but to stand up for the injustices that we see in today's world. That leads me to future plans. Immediate future plan is to create a multicultural classroom. Ford states that multicultural education is a philosophy based on the fundamental belief that all people must be accorded respect, regardless of age, race, ethnicity, gender, income, SES, religion, physical ability, and mental ability. This kind of goes back to the idea of the microaggressions and creating a classroom atmosphere where those are not tolerated, and just a more inclusive, welcoming environment in my classroom. And then also in the area of curriculum, I would like to see more racially diverse readings, since I'm an ELA teacher, and to develop a curriculum based on that matches, this is my plan, to build a curriculum that matches the social studies curriculum, which is a geography. They go through the different continents. And so to match different literary styles and readings from the different cultures that they will be studying in their social studies class. And then to use the Ford-Harris matrix, which infuses the Bloom's taxonomy, to kind of be my guide in how I develop that curriculum so that it is indeed multicultural. And then also to check my instruction, pay attention to groupings so that students have more opportunities to interact with others from different cultures. And also to pay attention to who I call on in class, whether it's male, female, or different groupings. Networking and collaboration. Where to go from here? The school that I'll be teaching at this year is an international magnet school. So I feel that through conversations with my principal, who is African American male, that I will be able to be supported in developing a multicultural curriculum for my ELA class. I think those conversations begin there, but then they are spread to other middle school teachers, beginning at my school, and possibly to spread the idea to other middle schools in the district, and maybe even have this curriculum that I'm developing adopted as the seventh grade curriculum. I also see it important to share these ideas beyond my school district. A couple of organizations that I'm familiar with is the South Carolina Association for Middle Level Educators, and they have a conference in March of each year. And also in December, there's a South Carolina Consortium for Gifted Education Conference. So my plan would be to try to present at one of these two or both conferences. Thank you for listening.